what time of the year it is. Something like this would be installed by either a plumber or a refrigeration fitter. You would pipe all that up, and then refrigeration guy would come in, program everything, and set everything up. But this right here is taking care of just this area right in here. We probably have a dozen of those in the building, throughout the building. What the back of a commercial bathroom would look like. In here, we have some black cast iron pipe that's put together with what we call Band-Aids. And then we also have some copper pipe over here, and that copper pipe is all put together with solder. This is just an example. We did it this way just so you guys could see the different ways of doing things. Some of that pipe is screwed in, some of it's soldered together. Nothing in there would be welded though. In front of a computer, at some point in time in their career, they'll come in here. Most everybody takes a test on Friday. We have a final test on Friday to grade you and to see that you've retained what we've taught you and everything, and your tests are taken in here. Anybody that learns the CAD aspect of our industry, computer animated drawing, it's done in here. The CAD training is done in here. All your electronic training is done in here. We call those guys detailers, and we are just now getting our feet wet in the detailing world. Currently, right now, it looks like they're tearing this thing down. So what this was a piping group or whatever. This pipe that you see right here would be pipe that would be typically underground. Okay, so they underground it, and now they're going to take it apart, and the next guy's going to put it back together. It's very important that it's put together tight so it doesn't leak water, and that it's put together by code. Code is very strict in the plumbing world. You can only have so many things draining in so many things. Your vent pipe that goes out to the roof has to be so big for so many different fixtures. It's hard. There's a lot to it. The code for plumbing is very difficult. The actual braze joint, like this joint right here, this brazing joint right here, that is actually a weld certification to be certified in a braze joint. We do these joints right here with 15% silver. So the brazing rock that we do that with is 15% silver, so it's extremely expensive to see in our industry anymore. The world we live in is a throwaway world, and PVC is the pipe that we use. And you can look above and you can see all these racks. And we got some plumbing up there in those racks. That would be what we would call plumbing. So this would be like the basement you're standing in now, and then be the first floor above. This is what would look like on the first floor, let's say maybe for a water closet or a floor drain or something like that. It's all going to drain. So what we do is we have our apprentices that'll get a blueprint, and they'll come out and they'll build it in these racks off of the blueprint, and then after we get done with it, we'll seal up the ends, we'll fill it with water and make sure it doesn't leak, and then when it doesn't leak, they'll cut it all apart and they'll throw it away in the next one. We've got a whole bunch of them there, different sizes. This is actually a 4-inch RPZ, okay, and what an RPZ is it makes sure that any water that enters your building, if you contaminate it, there's no way for it to go back into the municipal water source, and that's a problem that happens. It wasn't that long ago, well, as far as your guys' age, it is a long time ago, but in 1988, on the East Coast, do you guys know what embalming fluid is? They put in a corpse before they bury it. Well, the embalmer was doing that, and he was hooking it up to a garden hose to help feed it through the body. Well, that embalming fluid actually went out of the body and went back into the municipal water source, and people were drinking it. All right, so bad things happen. So that's when the Clean Water Act was implemented. It's back in the 80s. Right now, currently, we don't have to in the state of Iowa have this system on a residential house, but any commercial property has to have RPZs. Tools, everything here, we like to replace on about a 5-year time span. By that time, enough hands have touched it that it needs to be replaced. Everything that we have here is pretty much state of the art. You won't be working with antiquated, antique tools in here. You'll be working with the exact same tools that you'd be working with out in the field, either in a ditch, below grade, or it's up above and you're going to be working overhead. So you're either on top of the ladder or you're down in the hole. And that's pretty much the industry right there. The facility has a med gas room. We have a med gas room because we have a lot of medical gas here with the University of Iowa Hospital and all the hospitals that we have in Cedar Rapids. There's a lot of medical gas work out there. It's some of the best work there is. The last couple of years that I spent in the field before I came in here, I was a med gas technician. It's a special certification and it's extremely meticulous. You'll see that everything is labeled really, really well. and the labels are really close together, because if you were to pipe oxygen where nitrous oxide was supposed to be, or vice versa, you could kill somebody. So you have to take great care and due diligence in doing it. This room is really, really clean because that's what kind of rooms that we work in when we do med gas. So this stuff in here gets cut out and put back in on a pretty regular basis. And everything that you see in here is all condensed into this one room. So you're talking this pipe right here, instead of just going from right there to there, it's gonna go 10 floors away. So we have it all condensed in here. Obviously we don't have 10 floors here to simulate it, but this is a working room right now. Any one of these fixtures would work, anything would fire up. All of this right here is for your backup system, which would have bottles, just like your torches carry. The bottles would all be stacked in here and piped into this stuff, and we'd be running off of bottles. There's ways, so like that valve right there, the handle comes out, so there's no way to close this cover with that handle, so somebody knows that oxygen, that nitrous or whatever is turned off by simply looking at that. So they know everything is turned on if the cover is closed. And that's what's in the hallway outside of every hospital room. If you guys have ever been to the hospital, whether you were in the hospital or you were there visiting somebody, this is what's out in the hallway. And it pipes to the stuff that goes, and this is just it in the hallway, and this just shows the pipes going up. And on the other side of the wall, we'll see where it goes behind your bed in your hospital room and how it's all piped. This would be what would be behind your head in the hospital where you're laying in the bed. And that's where all that piping comes from, is from out in the hallway. Finished off, it looks just like this right here. It's probably something you never noticed when you were sitting in the hospital, whether you were laying in the hospital or you were there visiting somebody. But all this stuff right here all got piped by a med gas. These are brazed joints, and this is an actual weld certification right here. Contractors that are signatories. The journeyman, you'll work for one of these companies right here. I spent 30 years in the field, and in my 30 years I worked for two contractors. I worked for Ace Refrigeration and I worked for Pipe Pro. Pipe up there, some stainless and some black carbon. The copper is soldered together, the stainless is tigged together. It looks like the black pipe is tigged together too, and I can assure you I did not do any of those welds. The pipe that you see over here on this side of the building that's uninsulated is stuff that you would see in an industrial situation. You typically wouldn't see it in a commercial building. But if you were to lift a ceiling tile out in your guys' high school that you guys went to school at, this would be really common to what you guys would see. You would have a domestic water line, you'd have a domestic hot water line. We have a recirc line, and what that line does is just maintain hot water in the big loop. And then we have heat pumps for our air conditioning system. That is really, there is so much to learn down here. There's so much different equipment down in here. You might end up working, this is a refrigeration compressor right here. This is a big train. It's a big air conditioning R22 system. Compressors go from that size to that. They get bigger than this, right? You have to be able to walk in on anything. This is right here is a heat pump system, and we have those throughout our entire building. You have to be able to work on that kind of stuff as well. So it's different facets throughout the entire freezer. Get that thing of ice cream out. Well, it gets cold by this thing right here. We call it a rack. This is a refrigeration rack right here. And I not only installed this stuff, I built these racks. Here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa for Ace Refrigeration, we would buy the components from different manufacturers, and I would build these things. I would build them, I would spend probably 6 weeks building a system, and then I would put it on semi-trailers and I'd send it out, and I would go install it wherever it was going to be installed. I loved doing that. That was part of that. I wired everything, I would do everything on the rack. I really enjoyed that part of it. Everything in a grocery store that gets cooled down by one of these. Here are residential furnaces, and then we have some big boiler blowers right here. This is what we're going to fire big blowers with, or boilers with. Big buildings, steam boilers, big stuff like that. There's smaller boiler stuff down here for comfort heating in small commercial buildings, and then all kinds of refrigeration equipment that we have right here. This is the compressor where the refrigeration process begins and ends, and up above in those coolers are little evaporators, and that's where the cooling comes from, is in those evaporators. We do it all here to just simulate what these things are going to do out in the field. Our industry though is electricity. As far as HVAC guys, electricity is a big deal to us, so I consider myself to be a better electrician. Even though none of these guys are just like you, they all learn hands-on, and that's the way I learned. That's the way our industry works. It's hands-on. But you gotta learn the classroom portion of it. They bent all this pipe and it goes into those brackets. This will get torn out and thrown away and new pipe will go in its place. In this situation right here, you're given a blueprint and measurements, and then you bend everything and it has to come up and fit. If it don't fit, you didn't do it right. So it looks really, really easy, but it's not that easy. Okay? It's a difficult task to do. Something, and we are very good at it. The pipe fitters are actually the best in the world. Do you guys remember Sully put that jet down in the Hudson River out in Washington? Well, when that jet had to come out of the Hudson River, they called pipe fitters to come in and rig that and take it out of the Hudson River. So we're very good at doing that. This right there will come off, get set in the parking lot, and then another group will put it back on. We'll set a crane up. That's what those pictures on the bulletin board were. They were all the guys after they got done doing the rigging training. We'll set a crane up out in the parking lot and we'll rig it so we can put all that stuff in and take all that stuff out. We also have a machine called a tugger, which is like kind of a portable crane, and we bolt it to the floor over there, and the cable goes out the door and it goes through a set of pulleys that we can rig. Equipped with the same amount of equipment in there. They have the ability to stick and TIG in each and every booth. Our welding machines typically only go about 3 or 4 years, and we get new weld machines. We throw them away, and we get new weld machines. We don't want anybody working off of antique equipment. We want you guys to be using the same equipment here as you would in the field. We swap back and forth between Lincoln and Miller. You can see right now we're on a big Miller kick right now. Okay, he'll get 2 coupons. And he will take these coupons back into his weld booth. He'll prep the surfaces. He will mate them up with the right amount of gap, and he will begin to weld, and he will practice. He will practice his craft of welding. After he gets done with each and every pass on his weld, he will bring it to an instructor or an inspection table. Right now I can see all the instructors are in one booth right there. He'll bring it to the inspection table, I guess there's one right there, and he'll get inspected for each pass. And as the instructor likes the weld, he'll tell him to go on to the next one. This right here, probably 4 passes. Looks like a root pass, and then you'll have a hot pass, and then you'll have a cover pass. And this one looks like it's got 2 covers. This is probably a beginner type weld. The wall right there determines your heat, your speed, your rod, everything. This is one that's been tacked up. The root pass didn't pass. So instead of throwing the whole thing away, we use this machine right here to cut it out, a new bevel. It'll go back into here and it'll get re-welded again. Graduated from plate. I'm a plate welder. So we cut them right there. We cut them with a flame torch. And it's this machine right here. All of our welding is done on a beveled edge. We don't do any flat surface welding. It's all done on a beveled edge. And this is how we get a nice perfect bevel, is on a small machine like this. This machine gets much bigger. When we go to the pipe fitter, a fitter and a welder would do this, and you'd be assigned either line 1, 2, or 3, and you will be given a certain amount of time to measure between point A and point B. That time might be only 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and you have to take all those measurements. Not only do you have to take those measurements, you have to look at your blueprint and determine what the other guys are doing too, because you can't pipe in their way. So if both of these people did their offset in the same place, they would hit. So you have to pipe in conjunction with the other 2 guys that are doing theirs too. And this is a really easy trainer right here, and then it gets more and more difficult when you move into a trainer like this, where you have a combination of offsets. We call this a rolling offset. It goes in 2 different directions with 2 different angles. Everything we do here is not 45. Sometimes it's a goofy angle. We don't buy cat year of your apprenticeship. All these guys that are in here welding right now, this is like weld 1. So these are like 1st and 2nd year apprentices. They won't be over in this area for a couple more years. But this is where we have state-of-the-art MIG machines and rollers and everything like that. We have the ability to go high frequency. We have the ability to do aluminum, chrome moly, any material out there we can do with the machines that we have right here. Again, we don't like to keep machines very long, 4 or 5 years, and then we get rid of them and we get new. Operated weld machines. These machines make this weld right here. I don't know, any of you guys that good? This is all done by a computer. So we learn how to computer weld stuff together, and this is a fused joint. So this is what we call 316L stainless steel. This is food grade stuff right here. This is what the toothpaste, any food products or anything like that is going to go through before it goes to you. And it comes in a lot of different sizes. This is the most coveted welding procedure done. You can go to work in a lab coat and come home and look the exact same. You don't get dirty. Everything is done in laboratory setting.
So more or less just pipe that's too small to TIG.
No, this is all TIG. This is all TIG right here. This is all done with tungsten. This is all a TIG weld. We can TIG anything. These machines go. And the inside is just as clean as the outside. And that's important. Yep. Actual gas-fired boiler is what this is. It's extremely efficient. Extremely efficient. We can get a lot higher temperatures with this than we can do. We have the 2nd floor that looks just like the 1st floor right here. These guys are in the class right now. They're going to come in, they're going to plumb everything in here, and then they'll tear everything out. The next group will come in and do it. The carpenters actually come over here and they replace these studs for a wall hanger that will hang on the wall. So instead of going into the floor, into a closet flange like that, it'll go into a cast iron fitting in the wall and hang it down. So that's the difference between commercial and residential. Where you do any building, commercial building, is you come in and do your groundwork first. Your groundwork is this. You don't have anything above you, you just have this. You got a blueprint, you got to measure off of known points, and you got to put your pipe in. And then they bury everything here, and then they start building the house. And then when the toilet comes out right here, and your pipe is clear over here when it's supposed to be here, you have to figure out how you're going to get to it. So these guys, it's really important that these guys know how to read a blueprint and a tape measure. So they'll dig all this up, they'll put all their piping in, then they'll pipe from 2nd story all the way down to here, and hopefully everything lines up. And then after they get done with that, we'll fill it with water to make sure it doesn't leak. And then after that, they tear it all out, throw it away, and the next group does it again. It was over there. It just got stripped out and taken out, scrapped October, November last year. My next class that I have coming in 2 weeks, we're going to start building a steam trainer over there. So that's why I have in this space. I'm the core instructor. Every solitary person that goes through their apprenticeship goes through my classroom. Whereas the weld shop, only the welders and pipe fitters go there. The plumbing shop, only the plumbers go there. Refrigeration, only the refrigeration guys go there. I'm the only instructor that gets everybody. So everybody has to go through my class. And I teach all the classes that nobody wants to go to. I teach math, I take 12,500,000 pictures. And if we set that up in 4 different locations in that room, we'll get every nook and cranny of that room. And then we will get a 3D image of that room.